Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I see.
Okay. Did anybody check with Ashira? Can somebody check with Ashira, please? I see him on the call, but I do not see him reply anywhere. Ashira, are you back? Okay, guys, let's continue then. Okay, so introduction to RPA. What is RPA? Would anybody like to explain about what they think is RPA? Jira, I think you are in business analyst. So, what according to you is RPA? Jira, would you like to answer that? Guys, am I audible to you? Can you hear me? Um, okay, okay, fine. Jetnipat, maybe you tell us what do you think is RPA?
Um, uh, RPA is a tool that mimic the user activity
Hmm.
or can do some process with the automation that
Okay,
can help the operation will be run faster and smoothly.
right, absolutely. Tavinya, what according to you is RPA?
Is a robotic that can repetitive tasks of human.
Right, absolutely. Uh, so, RPA is the process of automating business operations using bots. So, when I say bots, bots basically, by saying bots, I just mean it to be as a sequence of code in order to reduce the human intervention. Also, guys, I'll start recording. I forgot to start recording, and yes, okay. So, RPA is the process of automating business operations using bots, which is a sequence of code in order to reduce the human intervention. If I break RPA, which is robotic process automation, into different words, then basically robotic means robotic represents a machine which mimics human actions, right? That we already discussed right now. Then process. What is process? So process is a step-by-step sequence which can complete a task. Then automation. So automation is something without any human intervention, right? So when we combine these three words, robotic, process, and automation, so RPA means mimicking human actions to perform a sequence of steps without any human intervention. Okay, so with RPA, all the redundant tasks that a human does on a regular basis are automated by a robot. It follows the exact steps that are defined by a human to complete a task and does it without any human intervention. For example, if there is a guy whose job is for data entry, right? So, what exactly does he do? He visits the same source every day, gets data from the same point, right? And enters it in an Excel sheet and then send it to maybe stakeholders or the business owners, whomsoever he has to send, he just sends it. So so there is no human brain required here, right? As in, you just have to open the source, you have to fetch some important data, you have to paste it into an Excel file and send it over to some fixed users. So why do we want a human doing that? Why can't we have a bot who can mimic all these steps for a human? Do you guys agree? Am I going too fast? As in, am I saying things too fast? Do you want me to slow it down? Okay, okay. Uh, right. I'll repeat the same thing just with a little slower pace. I hope that should be okay. Okay. So, right, as I already, okay, let's start again with what is RPA. So, RPA is the process of automating business operations, okay, using bots. So, what is bots? Bots is a sequence of code. So, whatever steps we have to do are sequential, right? So, what we do is we create a sequence of code in order to reduce the human intervention. So, when we want a bot to mimic all the steps that a human does, so if a human does it in a sequence of A, B, C, and D, so we would create a bot, a sequence of code in the same order. A code that would perform first A, followed by B, then C, and then D. This is what RPA is. When I break these three words individually, by three words I mean robotic, process, and automation. If I break these three words, what exactly does robotic means? So, robotic represents a machine which mimics human actions. So, right. Then comes process. What is process? Process is a step by step sequence which can complete a task. So, when we say process, if we have to carry out a particular task, there has to be a process to perform that task. That process is a step by step sequence. Then comes automation. Automation is something without any human intervention, right? So when we combine, Okay, can you guys hear me now? I'm so sorry, I got dropped off. Okay, so, right. Okay, so I explained you what robotic is, what process is, and what automation is. Okay, so now when we combine these three words, RPA together means mimicking human actions a sequence of steps to perform a sequence of steps without any human intervention. Right. Just give me a second. Okay, is my screen also visible now? Okay, great. Right. So RPA together means mimicking human actions to perform a sequence of steps without any human intervention. So with RPA, all the redundant tasks that a human does on a regular basis are automated by a robot. So if there is any task where we do not need a human decision making capacity, and is very monotonous or redundant, that is where we replace a human with a bot, right? So it follows the exact same steps that are defined by a human to complete a task and does it without any human intervention. So, for example, a data entry guy. What does exactly a data entry guy does? He would come up to the office. He would open the same source every day. He would pick a few important data from that particular point, enter it in an Excel sheet, and then send it to whatever stakeholders. And even those stakeholders can be fixed. And even if they would change on a very they would not change very frequently. So why can't we replace a bot for this particular task? There is no human decision making required. We just have to open up a source. We have to copy some data from there, paste it into an Excel file, and send it over. This is a very monotonous thing to do for any human being daily. So rather, we should create a bot and replace it. The bot would be more faster, would be more efficient, and can perform various other tasks too. Right? Um so was I in terms of pace okay now? Panwas, was it okay for you now? Okay.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So then comes pros and cons of RPA. Okay, in terms of pros of RPA, whenever we implement RPA, the human efforts are reduced. So when the human efforts are reduced, the human errors are reduced too, right? There would be no human errors in terms of maybe tiredness. If somebody is doing a monotonous task for 6 hours a day, obviously after 3 4 5 hours they would be prone to make errors, right? So with bots there are no human errors. It improves the productivity, it improves the efficiency in terms of it saves cost and time. So in terms of time, when I say time, there is an average handling time, right? So if a human has a tendency to perform a task in 10 minutes, if we build a bot accordingly, and if those applications support, the time can be reduced to 1/10, maybe 1/20th, but the time definitely gets reduced. So we save time and then cost. In terms of cost, if we replace that human being with the bot, that is just a one time implementation cost, right? So we save money too. In terms of skills that we need, this training is all about learning to automate without any programming skills, without any coding skills. So I suppose creating a bot is so easy that you should just know what do you want out of that bot, and then you will be able to create that bot. In terms of implementation, you can implement what in a process as small as data entry, and in a process as huge as maybe invoice validation or invoice processing or anything. We can test each and every feature of the bot. We can create as many scenarios as you want in the bot. So if you go up for invoice processing and maybe you have 10 different exception paths, if you can create rules to get into those exception paths, you can create a bot very efficiently for all these processes. So starting from a very small process to a very huge process, RPA can be implemented in every type of processes which has a rule based decision. Any decisions that are to be made in an RPA process should be a rule based decision. This is one very basic and very important rule of RPA. Okay, then comes cons. So RPA is a technology that sits over the application. So if anything, by anything I mean a thing as small as the UI, or maybe the color, or maybe if your application gets updated and some of the elements get changed in terms of their CSS level, even then we will have to change the code. So it needs to reconfigure if there are any changes in the application. This is because RPA behaves as a service layer, as a layer over the application. Just like a human being performs task over the application, RPA performs task over the application. Then comes another disadvantage of RPA is that it depends on the speed of application. When I say it depends on the speed of application, so if my application is slow, if my so for suppose I'm working on a in-house application. When I say in-house application, it might be maybe I'm working on some SAP or some Citrix based automation, and if the page loading time is maybe 10 seconds or 12 seconds, so that is the time the bot will also have to wait. The bot cannot increase the speed of the application, or the bot cannot work according to himself. The bot is dependent on the speed of application. So if the application responds after 30 seconds, the bot will work after 30 seconds. If the application responds within fraction of seconds, the bot will perform within fraction of seconds. So the bot is compatible, but it depends on the speed of the application. Right? Then comes about the myths of RPA. So the first and the foremost myth being it needs coding skills. No, we do not need coding skills. We just have to understand what our process is, what are the rules, how do we define those rules, and that's all. We just need to know that. And if we know that very clearly, we can build up a bot very easily for ourselves. Then another thing is that human supervision is not required, but the human supervision is required. In terms of human supervision, even in the starting, when you create a bot, you have to test each and every test case. You have to test each and every scenario. Even when you test it all in the testing environment and then push it to the production, even then you will have to follow up on your bot's result for some time, or maybe if there are any exceptions, then you need a human intervention. then you need a human to process whatever the bot cannot process. So a human supervision is always required over an bot. Right. Then RPA can be deployed to very large organizations. This absolutely is a myth. RPA now being so compatible with so many types of users, RPA being so compatible to build that we do not even need coding skills. Even a business user can build it. So there is nothing like a large company can implement it. We have RPA licenses for every type. We have the cost effect. We have licenses which are very expensive, but we have licenses which are very much affordable for small organizations or for a small number of teams. So these are few myths about RPA. Okay, so now almost all of you have are working on RPA. So you tell me, what would you like to add here in terms of pros or cons or myths? Ruangdit, you tell me. Would you like to add anything here? Oh, okay. Yeah. Uh, Tavini, you tell me. Do you like to add here anything else?
I think it's another myth that somebody or end user will understand the RPA as the AI, but it is not.
Can you repeat? I did not get what you're saying.
Some end user
Hmm.
understand the RPA as the artificial intelligence, but it is not quite full artificial intelligence.
Right. So as we already discussed about what RPA is, so RPA specifically is the process of mimicking human steps. And in order to mimic human steps, we do not need artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence that comes few steps ahead to RPA, and that is not RPA. RPA is just mimicking those human steps, which a bot will do and would be less prone to errors and would give you a better efficiency. Right? Okay. Panumas, you tell me, would you like to add here anything?
Again, please.
Sorry,
Uh,
what?
Sorry, again, please.
Yeah. So tell me, would you like to add here something?
No, no.
Oh, okay. Jira, you work as a business analyst. You tell me, are there any points that you would like to add here?
Now I
There would be some limitations that you would tell your users that this is what, like, you must have an opinion about the pros and cons, right?
เอ่อใครอธิบายให้หน่อยครับ
Sorry.
Question again
ที่มีอะไรที่อยากจะแอดเพิ่มในพี่แบบที่ไม่ได้อยู่ในสไลด์โปรแอนคอนของเขาอะค่ะ
อ๋ออืม Pro and Con no now
Okay.
no for now โอเคครับ
Okay. No issues.
ขอบคุณ
Okay.
ครับ
So let's move ahead to what UiPath is. Okay. So UiPath is a RPA tool that is used for Windows desktop automation. It is used to automate tasks using drag and drop functionality and eliminate any human interventions. So I have not used a lot of other platforms, but in terms of what I have seen and studied about them, I find UiPath the simplest one just because of its UI interactions, just because of its drag and drop functionalities. You, if even if you do not have a coding skill, and even after you use a drag and drop functionality, UiPath has left so many things open that you can configure it according to your needs. You can change, you can modify, you can use one single activity in various ways. It is so configurable that maybe you use three activities to perform a different type of a rule. So I find UiPath to be more interactive and more easy to play with or to work with around. So UiPath offers various editions too. So it offers a community cloud version, a studio version, an enterprise cloud version, and enterprise server. We always use enterprise version, which is the licensed version, and community is something which we use in terms of we have to try out the functionality of the tool, or maybe we have to check whether our purpose would be solved or not. But in case of implementation, in when we have to deploy a bot to production, when we have to link it to our servers, when we have to perform a daily task using that particular bot, we use the enterprise version. So that is about UiPath. UiPath has a lot of there are so many third party applications too, which are integrated so well with UiPath that those integrations make people like us work very easy. So in terms of uh, like I already told you, when we were when we were seeing the UI of Studio X, in terms of browsers, there is an extension, right? That installation does not even take seconds, but just that installation makes our work so easy. We can we can know the properties about each and every element that we have to work on, and if we know those properties, we can distinguish that element. We can create a bunch of properties that we have to use to highlight that element, to make the bot understand what element do we have to work with. So UiPath as a tool is very interactive, is very positive, I would say, in terms of it has a community forum also. If you go with the enterprise version, you have the access to those forums. You can put up your queries there, and my personal experience is I do not have to wait for more than 6-7 hours. I basically get a response on that query of mine very with a very good speed. So UiPath is like these are the reasons why I recommend UiPath. Okay. Then comes the UiPath architecture. So UiPath architecture includes three UiPath components. Okay, and these three UiPath components are the UiPath Studio that we use to develop UiPath Robot and Orchestrator, along with the database servers and browser components. So the architecture in all includes Studio, Robot, Orchestrator, database servers, and browser components. Right? In terms of the explanation to these three components, Studio is a visual designer that lets you build automation workflows with pre-built activities. The automation could be used to automate a simple or a complex task. So we have activities for each and every task, right? So we drag and drop those, and when we drag and drop those, a sequence is created. That sequence is known as workflow. So we create these workflows, we create this sequence of code in the UiPath Studio. Then comes UiPath Robot. When the automation is designed on UiPath Studio, it is executed by UiPath robots. So designing part is the studio part, but the executing part is the robot part. We need to make sure that our robots are present in the running state to execute any task that we have to run through. Okay. Then comes orchestrator. Uh, orchestrator is used to publish the projects or the automation workflows to ensure that the automation works on various systems simultaneously. So how I see orchestrator helps us to monitor and to oversee on what the bot is doing and where the bot is doing. When I say about where the bot is doing, if we have a complex process or if we have a process with a lot of input data and less time to execute it, we need more machines to run it on. Like if I have 1000 piece of data and I know even with the bot's speed, I can only execute 2000 records in one day, and I have to finish those 1000 records in one single day, then I will need four machines. I will need four instances where I can run the bot so that each bot can pick up 250 records and work on them. So orchestrator helps me manage that. Orchestrator helps me manage what time do I have to run, what do I have to run, and what machine does it need to run on. So these are the three components of UiPath itself. Uh, so are you clear with these three products, these three components? Do you want me to repeat any of them or all of them? Right. So orchestrator. So in terms of orchestrator we use as a web browser. Okay. We use orchestrator whenever we need to run a process to maybe a virtual machine. Okay. If I have to run one process to 10 different machines, how do I see that they run simultaneously? They are working fine, they are not breaking anywhere. So, this is what Orchestrator helps me to do. It helps me run automation workflows on various systems simultaneously. So, if maybe I have a lot of bulk data that I have to process, and I have to do that within a day, and I know I cannot complete it until unless I have five bots running parallelly. This is what orchestrator helps me manage. So in when I use orchestrator, I can choose the process and I can choose on what machines do I have to run it. So it will run that one process on all the machines simultaneously. When we run them, we can also monitor them using Orchestrator itself. We do not have to look into those machines physically. Just by seeing Orchestrator, just by seeing the logs that our bot creates in the Orchestrator, we can see where the bot is, what type of exceptions the bot is throwing in, how many line items have the bot processed, and everything. So orchestrator helps us manage everything from a very high level. Do you get that now, Rwangdate? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so now as you can see on the screen, the architecture is divided into three layers. Okay, so the first layer is the presentation layer. So the presentation layer includes those parts of UiPath architecture which can be directly accessed by the user or the developer. Sorry. So whatever the UiPath developer or the user can directly access comes in the presentation layer. So it includes things like UiPath Studio, robots, browsers. Okay, because a developer needs a studio to build, browser to access, and the robots to test. So these are the things that comes into the presentation layer of the architecture. All workflows that are created are saved in a database, and that database is UiPath Orchestrator, which comes in the service layer. So whenever we create a workflow, we publish it, it gets saved into a database. That database being orchestrated, it picks the function from there and guides the robot to work as per the code. As I already mentioned, we create logs, and when we create, as in when we generate logs, those logs are generated in the orchestrator, and so those are also saved in the backend. So this comprises of the first two layers, which is the presentation layer and the service layer. Then in terms of the persistent layer, the third layer being the persistent layer, it includes the database servers, the robot configuration details, as in what robot is configured with what machine and everything. These things are stored in the third layer. Configuration details described which robot is specific to which user, and the details of the assigned processes, like like which process is to be run with which robot, and which queues does it have to use, what queues item does it have to use, what are the assets that it can monitor, and all these details are used in the third layer. So basically, the first layer is all for the user or for the developer to create what they have to run. The second layer would be to monitor what they have done, and the third layer would be to store all the infra details as to which robot, which machine, which robot, which user license, which process, which machine. So these are the things that are divided into these three layers. Then, okay. Uh, UiPath platform, with this architecture, it facilitates end-to-end process handling. It assures a fully automated workspace that can gain capacity, enhance efficiency, and increase process scalability and flexibility. By scalability and flexibility, I mean, if today, for suppose my bot load is less, I have just 100 records. I do not need 5 VMs. I will run my process on one machine for whatever time it needs, and that's it. I can use the other 4 for other process. So it is scalable and it is flexible. Right? Do you guys get this, or do you want me to repeat any of these parts? Uh, Jira, are you okay with the architecture?
Okay.
Panumas, do you have any questions?
No, any.
Okay. Tavine, all good?
Yeah, no question. No problem.
Okay, right. Uh, Ashira, are you there? Are you following? Ashira? Okay. Permsac all okay till here?
Okay, okay,
Okay.
okay.
Uh, okay. Then moving forward. Okay. What is citizen developer? So, citizen developer or Studio X, this is a new component, a new studio that UiPath has released for people with no coding skills. So, if I am a business user, there are a very less this thing for me to have good coding skills, but somehow this tool, this studio helps people like me or people like such business users build up automations, build up bots for their own redundant task, and occupy themselves or maybe use their human making decisions somewhere else, and not on those redundant tasks. So we can automate all the repetitive tasks. We learn about the key concepts about what can be automated and how can be automated. Then we learn about image, text, email, Excel, Word, and all these integrations, and how do we automate processes which involves all these applications. How do we perform data manipulation in case of maybe data entry, or maybe reading a PDF of invoice and uploading some details somewhere else. We need to perform data manipulation. We basically, if we get data from one particular point, we might get too much of data, or we might get some data and there would be another set of data that needs to be derived from whatever data we have got. So we should know how to manipulate data in terms of how we can use it, and what type of data do we need in order to carry out our process to the end state. So if I, being a human, knows what is the relevant data, what is the data that I have to populate somewhere, I should have my rules so clear that I can train the bot to follow all those rules just like how I do, and fetch the relevant data and then send it over. So data manipulation is one thing which I consider to be very important in terms of RPA, in terms of how do we automate, in terms of how do we carry forward that process from start to end. Right. Then some features of if you talk about Studio X, it just has a single file. When I talk about type of workflows, it just supports sequence. When I say sequence because this is for a low, this is for automating a sequence of codes. This is for automating tasks which are redundant. And when I talk about tasks and redundancy, we have a sequence fixed. We know, for suppose I have to fetch some details from the browser. My steps are fixed. First, I have to open the browser. Second, I have to navigate to a URL. Third, I have to log in using some particular credentials. Fourth, when I log in, I have to fetch four points of data from four different pages. So I have to navigate to page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. Then I have to paste all those four details into an Excel file, and last step is I have to email them. So my sequence of steps remain same. So Studio X only supports a sequence. It does not support state machines or flowcharts. When I talk about state machines and flowcharts, when we use flowcharts, we have the power to move from maybe step number 10 to step number 1, right? But when we use sequence, we cannot do this. It is just step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and so on. There is no going back to a particular step. But even with sequence, I think Studio X is very much flexible, and we can do a lot of almost all the things that needs to be done for a simple process, and that too without any coding skills required. In terms of compatibility, Studio X has its own compatibility, so it works with Studio X only. In terms of license, we have Attended and Studio X, and tasks. I already told you we automate straightforward tasks with the sequence of steps that we have to follow. Do you guys have any question from this? Okay, then let's move forward. Here comes Studio interface. Okay, now rather than PPT, I would like to show you all these features from the interface itself. So just give me a second and I'll open my VM. Okay. Okay. So in order to explain you the interface, in order to go to the interface, let me create a blank task. When I create, okay, my page has been this thing. Let me refresh. Right. So let me create a blank task named UI interface demo. Right. So as you can see on the extreme top, we come to two tabs, Home and Design. Home brings us back to the first page, and Design means the page where we carry out our designs, where we create our designs to what our process is and everything. Then comes here a search palette where we can search about whatever activities are in here. So if I have a very complex sequence of code and I have to search for a specific space or a specific place that I have to go to, this is how I search it. Then here is a send feedback form, a send feedback button to how your Studio X is behaving and everything. Then comes the help, and this is the user of how we have signed in, and yes, this is the topmost layer. Then when we come to the ribbon, we have a save option. So as in when we create the sequence of code, we save it. So this button is just for saving the workflow that we create. Then comes project. So each and every task that we automate, we create a new project for that. So a project is something that gets archived or that gets zipped to the exe when we have to run it. So a project will consist of the JSON files or maybe the main XAML and other things. In terms of project, when I click on project, I see two options. First is the project settings and the second one is open project folder. So let's see what does the first option do. Okay, so when I click here on project settings, this is the box that comes up. So here I have the facility to change the name. So initially I named it UI interface demo. Let me change it to UI interface demo changed. Okay, so if I have to change my project's name or the description to that particular project, this is where I'll change it. Once I click OK, okay. So first you see here on the top, we have the project name written as UI interface demo. Now when I click OK, it changes to UI interface demo changed. So this is what we can do from project settings. So we change the name here, we click on OK and it's saved. In terms of the workflow analyzer, so what is a workflow analyzer? I'll tell you in detailed a little bit afterwards, but a workflow analyzer we analyzes our complete workflow and it checks if there are any violations, if there are any best practices that we have not followed in our code. So a workflow analyzer highlights all the uh, all the things that might go wrong or where we have not followed the best practice. So whenever we create the code and while testing or maybe just after the creation, we make sure we make a point to run the workflow analyzer so that we know whatever mistakes can happen or what wherever we have not followed the coding standards, because we would also want a perfect code to go into production. So we make sure to run this workflow analyzer and check about any mishappening things that we have done. Then coming down to activity settings, these are few types of integrations that are done here. So OCR, optical character recognition, then the classic UI automation, then the computer vision, then how do we then about the Excel and everything. So this is about project settings. Then is open project folder. When we say open project folder, this opens the project folder in the Windows File Explorer. So whenever we have to check what all things are there in my project, what all files are there in my project, when we have to open it directly, how we do it is go to project and click on open project folder. Then our project is opened in the Windows File Explorer. We can check the path here if we want to navigate manually. Okay, so is the project button clear? Is the project tab clear? Do you want me to go slower? Okay. Okay, fine. I'll try and be slower this time. Then comes project notebook. It opens the Excel file that you defined as the project notebook for the automation project. To edit its settings, we go to configure notebook, and to open the notebook, we click on open notebook. So when I click on open notebook, this is the file that opens up. Now, to the ones who have already worked in UiPath Studio, how do we work in UiPath Studio? We write all our expressions within the studio. We design all the rules and logics within the studio. But it is not the case in Studio X. In terms of Studio X, okay, a basic example is a date format. If we have to change the date format, we generally write the code within the studio. But how Studio X works is we give the input here. So for example, it has today's date, that is 19th of April 2021. Then you will have a lot of formats here. So in terms of days, if I enter 7 here, you see it gives me date plus a number of days. So if I add 7 in 19th of April, it comes to 26th of April 2021. So all the rules are defined in this notebook, and we do not have to build in any rules in our code, or I used the wrong word code, I would say in our sequence. Then there is another item called date plus a number of working days. So if you see, if I add 7 to 19, it comes 26th, right? But if we talk about working days and if we exclude the weekend, it would come to 28. So this is what the project notebook is. In terms of its more tabs and what they do and what they do not do, how can we configure it, we will learn it a little bit later on. But I hope you got a glimpse of what the project notebook is and what it does. Do you want me to repeat the project notebook thing, because this is a new feature to Studio X? So if you want me to repeat it, I'll be happy to do it. Anybody, if you have any issues with notebook, I'll repeat it.
Can you describe another sheet of
Okay.
this project notebook?
Right. Okay. So let me go to text. Okay. When I come to text, I have given an input text as John C. Doe. When we talk about trimmed, so what do you do about trimmed? So trimmed, what does a trim method do? It trims out all the spaces before the actual text and after the text. So if, for example, this is my John C. Doe and I add here some spaces and I press enter, right? Even then, here in the trimmed text, okay, sorry. Here in the trim text, I would not have any space. So what trimmed, here I have given it as a name, but here we have a function trim b4, which shows that it would remove all the unwanted space which are in the start of my text or at the end of my text. Then another feature would be length. So like I added here spaces, a lot of spaces here. So its length changed to 23. If I reduce it, the length changes to 14. So this calculates the length. So all these features, so these are few methods that we have to use, that we basically need to use in every type of RPA. And with Studio X being a no coding platform, it is dependent on this Excel file, so that we do not have to code it into our sequence or into our workflow. We just have to create some logics here to what we need, how do we need to manipulate, and the bot will pick those things up from this Excel file. So this Excel file works as a base to all the rules, to all the expressions that we need in our workflow. Uh, is it better for you now, Tavinay? Do you get it now?
Okay, I get it.
Do you have any more questions from this?
Nothing.
Okay. You'll be a bit more clearer once we start working using them. This is just the introduction part to what these things are and what do they do. Okay. Then Moving ahead, we have configure notebook. When we come down to configure notebook, it is just here to uh, change some parts and everything. Okay, then comes manage packages. So what manage packages does, when we open manage packages, it opens another window, and it helps us configure the activity packages and source for the project. So now, okay, now what basically manage packages does is it gives us the activities. So it gives us the complete package. When I say package, for suppose I have, if we talk about Excel, so I will have one package for Excel, but that one package for Excel will have a lot of activities for Excel. When I talk about package and activities, so here if you see on the left panel, here we have an option called Excel. So this Excel would be the package, and the activities on the right are the components of that package. So in one package, I can have various activities. When we need a new package, for example, we do not have Excel here, then we go to manage packages, we search for Excel UiPath Excel activities, and here is the install option. We click on install, we save it, and then we get the Excel here and the activities here. So this is what manage packages does. Then comes another feature, which is web app or web recorder. When we talk about recorder, it uh, it opens the UiPath recorder, which is this recorder, and it captures your actions on the screen and generates a sequence of activities based on them. So let me demonstrate this for you because I know it would be difficult to understand it. Okay, now for suppose I opened this calculator, right? And I have to use web app recorder. There is this record button, this start recording button, this is the save button, this is the change application button. What this does, I'll let you know later. Then this is the this helps us configure about what type of selectives do we have to make, and this is the input method. So the basics of recording, when I click on start recording, what it would do is, first of all, it asks me for a window. If you see here on the top, it says window. When it says window, we have to specify what window does the bot have to work on. When I say when the bot has to work on, I mean what application is it where the bot has to work. So here I have to work on calculator. So I select the calculator window. I did not do anything, but I just clicked on the calculator window, right? So if you see here, it shows use application calculator. This is what web app recorder does. Now, if I perform here, maybe 2 plus 2, let's see what it does. So when I come down here to 2, I have to click it, right? When I click it, it searches for the selector, and here it demonstrates an activity saying click 2. Then I have to click on the plus icon. So I click here on plus. It adds another activity, which is click add. Then I have to again click on 2. So I click on 2 and it adds another activity. Then is equal to. Click equals. Then what do we have to do here is we have to get text. So we choose the options from here and we click on get text. And it records it here too. So this is what web app recorder does. It captures the actions on the screen and generates a sequence of activities based on them. Do you guys get it? Do you want me to repeat recorder again, or do you want me to give you another example to this thing? We would do exercises based on this later. This is to give you a glimpse about what the web app recorder does and how it does. So, is that part clear? Jira, are you clear till here?
Okay, clear.
Okay. Um, okay. Then I click on save and I get this sequence in my workflow designer. Right? So this is how web app recorder works. Okay. Okay. Then we completed till here. Then comes table extraction. So in terms of table extraction, whenever we have a tabular data that we have to extract and use within our workflow, we click on table extraction. This extract wizard opens and it enables me to extract any structured data from an application or a web page. So wherever we'll have a tabular data, wherever we'll have a table which we have to fetch, I would use the option table extraction and I would select that table and I would get all the cell items from that table. This is what table extraction does. Then comes analyze. Analyze is again about workflow analyzer that I told you. And in terms of analyze, it checks the main project file for errors and workflow analyzer violations. So we set the rules in the workflow analyzer, and when we analyze, it checks if or whether we have violated any such rules that we want our bot to follow. And the results to this analyzing comes up here on the bottom right tab, which is the error list. So if there are any errors in there, it comes down here into this error list. Okay. Then comes export to Excel. Export to Excel exports our automation project to an Excel file. And that's it. Then comes publish. So what publish does is it archives the project and all the other files in the project folder so that it can be sent to robots and then executed. So if I take an example for this thing, it is like creating the complete application and then creating an exe to run that application directly from an icon. This is what publish button does. The publish button archives whole of our code, it encapsulates it, and then it gives us one icon in the robot to run it directly from there so that it can be executed from the robots. This is what the publish button does. And when we come down to run is the button that helps us execute the automation project. So if I have to tell you about what run does, let me just do this thing, save for later, and I give it a name named test. And if I click on run, what run does is it helps me execute whatever is there on my design panel. So what I had on my design panel was 2 plus 2 is equal to, and this is what it got, 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. So the run button helps us execute whatever is there in our design panel. So are you guys clear with the top ribbon, or do you want me to repeat any of the functionality or any of the item that is there? Guys, any question?
Question.
Yeah. Sorry, Tavina, I did not get you.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah, tell me.
The publish button in the Studio X and Studio is different, right?
No, this performs the same thing. Just like your studio would publish it and create an exe out of it, the same thing would be done here in this via this publish button.
But I think that in the studio is habit is to deploy the package into the orchestrator, right?
Into the orchestrator, but it also comes into the robot. It comes down in the robot tray also. If you click on the publish and you have it published, then it comes it here. Then that process comes down here in the robot tray.
Oh,
So
okay, robot
yeah,
tray. Yeah, I
yeah,
get.
yes, it does the same thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions from anybody? Okay. Then moving forward, on the left hand side, we have this activity tab. We have this activity panel. When we talk about activity panel on the extreme left hand side here, we have the types of applications that for which we have the activities which are integrated and for which we can use some activities to perform the task on. Then on the right hand side, it shows us what activities do we have for a specific type of application. For example, for Excel, we have append range, we have copy range, we have change pivot data source, we have delete column, delete rows, delete sheets. So these activities that we have for Excel would work only for Excel and it would not work for any other thing. And similarly, if we come here to Word, our Word has activities like add picture, append text, read text. All these activities can be used for a Word file and not for an Excel file or any other type of file. So this is the activities panel. Then is the designer panel. So I think the designer panel, I would say it as a canvas on which we can create our automation. So like we have a blank canvas to create, to draw our paintings. I consider the design panel, the designer panel to be like a canvas on which we can create our automation. This is where we add activities, we view and edit their properties, and our automation project is represented by a diagram that gives us a visual representation of the sequence of activities it contains. When I talk about a diagram, if we see the current workflow, so it is a diagram that depicts the sequence of activities that we need to perform. So it shows me use application calculator. This shows that yes, the bot will use the application calculator. Then it shows click to, which shows us that yes, then the bot is going to click on to. Then it says click add, then again click to, then equals and then get text. So this is the diagram that is depicting each and every step that we want the bot to perform. And that is why I like to compare it with a canvas, with a blank canvas where we can create our paintings, and in the same way we can create our automation workflows here. Then we have a properties tab here. Here we can change the properties, we can give in or modify to how we want to use that activity, and basically if there are any delays that we want to give, if we want to continue, if there is an error, if there is an error to that specific activity, and we do not want to consider that error, we enable here, we just say it as true, and that's it. So these are the activities for each. In the properties panel, we get to change the properties or to modify the properties of each and every activity to what their output would be, to what their input would be, to if we want any delays before or after that activity, how much time do we want the bot to wait for that activity. All these things are the properties of a specific activity, and we can have as in we can change these properties from this particular panel. So we need to select the activity and all the properties come down here automatically. So for click, we have these properties, but for get text, we have a different set of properties. So whichever activity we select, we get the properties for them over here. So do you guys get it? This is about our complete UI interface to what options are there, what they does, and what panel does what thing to us. So, um, do you want me to repeat anything from the UI? Jetnipat, do you have any questions? Do you want me to repeat anything? Okay. Thanabarm, do you want me to repeat anything?
No.
Okay. Paramsak, you following everything till here?
Okay.
Paramsak, are you following me till here? Do you have any questions?
I have any question?
Okay.
Studio
Yeah.
can debug only run.
Sorry. Please repeat.
Cannot debug. Studio cannot debug.
Okay.
Debug
Studio
mode.
X. No, 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 no. We do not have a debug mode for Studio X. But I think the Studio X already, even when we run it, it gives you everything in such a precise manner that you would not find a need to debug. Even when you run it, you can know what the error is and where the error is. So UiPath Studio also shows the error in a quite descriptive way, but when we come down to Studio X, I don't think you will face any issues in terms of debugging because it is so simple and it is so less prone to error because there is no code required and everything is on clicks. So there is no syntax based exceptions or maybe anything that you think might have gone wrong. The chances here to go wrong are very less, and and the way it highlights the errors is so good that I don't think you will ever need the debugging mode. Even the run mode would help you debug and get to know where your errors are.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else, any questions, anything you want me to repeat or anything? Okay, so guys, now what I want from you is to open your VM, uh, create a new task, and go through these options one by one and just explore them a bit. We have 10 minutes to our break, and then maybe you ask me if you have any questions. So let's start. Everybody, please create a new project and open the user interface. Guys, if your VM does not respond, that is because of too much of time. Please click here on adjust resolution once and then your VM should be working. Were you guys able to create the task, the new project? Okay, Tavine is able to do that. What about others? Okay, Jetnipat is also able to do it. Ruangde, did you create the new task? Permsak, what about you? And Jira, were you able to do? Okay, Ashira has also done it. Permsak also. Jira?
I do.
Okay, you have created the task?
Create project.
Yeah, create project. Were you able
Yes.
to do it? Okay. Okay. So everybody, just by yourself, go to all these ribbons and see what they does, what type of activities do we have, and yeah, just please explore for 5 minutes to what this interface is, what type of options we have, and what type of properties we get. Okay. Okay, guys, let's make it a bit more interactive. So, uh, okay, I'll call out your names, and everybody pick up any one, maybe ribbon item or the panel or anything, and would explain it. Okay, so let's start with Tavine.
Question again.
There is no question, so I just want each and everybody to pick up one ribbon item or maybe one panel from the UI interface and explain it to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anyone,
Recorders.
right?
Okay, it used to record the step that human can do and record the step and generate as a sequence in the workflow.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you. Ashira? Ashira, are you facing any issues with like your teams or something? Okay. Jetnipat?
Okay. About table extraction. This function can extract some of the structure data from something like a web or some kind of the application that have a structure data we can extract by use this feature.
Okay, right. Absolutely. Uh, okay. Panamas, would you go next?
Go for the publish
Okay.
as published to the your iPad assistant for the robot manage.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Jira, next.
Property panel.
Sorry, I did not get you. Which one?
Oh, you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
I explain property panel.
Sorry, I did not get what you are saying.
Notebook.
Okay. Yeah.
Notebook.
Please.
And,
Yeah. Go ahead.
the notebook explain about formula used in the Studio X.
Right.
Example is that date and string manipulate can use. You can see the notebook in the notebook how to use it. Okay.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Thanapur, would you go next? Thanavaram, would you go next? Okay. Permsak, would you go next?
About manage packages.
Okay.
Manage packages help to developer design about project dependency. When developer want to more action,
Right.
developer can install can install more component for
Right.
using.
Absolutely. Okay. So coming back to Ashira. Ashira, would you like to unmute yourself and go to any one of the items in the ribbon? Would you like to explain any one item from the ribbon? Okay, that's okay. We already covered most of the items here. So, okay. So guys, it's 12:30 there. So we'll have an hour's break time for your lunch and let's meet after an hour. Is everybody okay?
Okay.
Okay. So see you
Okay.
at 1:30.
Enjoy your life.
Yeah, so it's 12:30, so let's meet at 1:30.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.